I am definitely looking forward to this next presentation. And I don't see any palm trees or pineapples in your background, Mussa, but anyway, I believe you that you're in Hawaii. I believe it. I appreciate your making that effort to be here and do this. And so we are looking forward to your presentation. Our next speaker reminds us of something we often overlook: the quiet role of a father. A father's work is not always seen. It happens in long days, silent sacrifices, and steady support. He carries responsibility while still trying to be present for the moments that matter. Today's speaker brings us a message that is both personal and powerful, a reflection on time, connection, and the conversations we sometimes delay. In his speech, Father's Time, he invites us to look beyond the clock and into the moments that truly define our lives. Please welcome Mussa Khiar.
Some years ago, my son said something to me that stayed in my heart. He said, "Dad, you didn't spend enough time with us when we were kids." Now, when a child says something like that, you don't answer right away. Of course, you don't argue. You don't defend yourself. You ask yourself, what happened? Did I miss something? Fellow Toastmasters and business speaker bureaus, what is time? Is that the hours we sit together, or the sacrifice we never see? Because sometimes love does not look time. Sometimes love looks absence. Many questions comes to my mind. Was I absent, nowhere to be found? Was I missing? I know I was working, but did not spend my weekends or spare time with my kids. What happened? I know I work hard. I was in the common rat race. Sometimes I was tired, and sometimes I was asleep. And sometimes I think about work after coming home also. My wife used to say, "Today you landed, but never arrived yet." That's when I start thinking work. That took some times from my kids. In my youth, I promised that my kids will not face the same thing I faced. There was a time in my life when I didn't even know if I would have a life or a future. I was not thinking about weekends. I was not thinking about family reunions. I'm not talking dinners. I was not talking about vacation. I was talking about survival. When the military government overthrew the king in 1974 in Ethiopia, everything changed. At first, it seemed small. Students were asked to serve 1 year community service. We accepted. Then the government asked for a second year. And that went crazy because the students protested, voices were raised, stone was thrown. At first, the message was simple. We do not want another year. No problem. But something shifted. The voices grew stronger. The message became, we want a civilian government. And that was too much for the military junta. And the government responded with fear. He was taking students every week. Many were shot in their neighborhood. I saw friends fall. I was scared. Family told me, you have to leave. There was no time to think, only to survive. At 16-year-old, I walked for 12 days to Sudan. At 16, I became a refugee. Every day I wondered, will I be eating today or will I survive tomorrow? I was alone, no family, no support. But that struggle made me a promise. And I said, I remember, my future children will never live like this. This life was terrible. Then one day I asked asylum to come to the US. And I got a chance. I came to a new country with dreams in one hand and uncertainty on the other. But life changed. Got married, have 3 wonderful kids. I always remember my promise, and I even renew it. My children will have a better life than I did. I was in the system, like you guys know, the rat race, work, like any other father. Of course, it's not that I like to work, but I was building something the family could stand on. But I realized the concept of time is different for everyone. One evening, I came home late. I was in a long day. It was Tuesday, I remember. When I opened the door, my son was standing there. He looked at me and he said, "Dad, are you working again tomorrow?" Tuesday is a day. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Wednesday is a work day. But he didn't see it. And I have to say, yes. I didn't say anything else. He nodded and he went to his room. I have to go back and talk to him later on. But that was Tuesday, and Wednesday is a work day. That's a weekday. I have to work. So the concept of vacation time or something might not have been with him. My children saw a father who was busy, maybe, but they didn't see the night I stayed awake worrying. They didn't see the fear of losing everything. They didn't see the promise I made to myself. My children will have a better life than I did. But my son, I cannot say he's wrong. As a human, I have shortcomings. Maybe I could have spent more time with him, but also at the same time, on the other hand, my daughter, his younger sister, she's funny. She always remembers everything. Remember, one time she said, "Dad, you remember when my ice cream fell from my cone and I wanted to pick it up, but you said, no, don't pick it up. I'll buy you another one." That was in Disneyland. And actually, at that time, I said, "I don't remember," but the son was with us. The son was with us. She remembers everything, and my son could not. And that a little bothers me. He was with us. Time for him is the counting of hours, I think. I remember when we were in line in Disneyland. I remember that. That was a long line. I hated it. And that summer, the sun was 2 feet away from my bald head. Oh, that was not even a good day. It was too hot. I remember taking them out of line, saying, "Guys, the line is too long. Let me buy you ice cream." And that's actually another reason to cool my bald, hot head. She remembered that. She remembered each state we went. She could say Phoenix, Arizona, Miami, Florida, and Washington, D.C. She knows every detail. She even remembered every ride she rode. Disneyland, Universal Studios, Santa Cruz Beach Walk. My son remembered, but currently missing time is what it counts for him, maybe, not the memory. What does that mean? Did I not spend enough time? When I also remember my wallet size going smaller every time I go with it. I remember the fun and the family time. I like my daughter. My daughter is my best witness. I'm not saying I did a good job, but I remember. A father's love is not measured, in my opinion, in the hours we spent, but in everything we gave up. The family ties created, the security we built, so our children could have more than we did. I promised before, I promise even now that my kids should have better life than what I did. When you ask yourself, what does that mean? I did not spend enough time. I'm not defending myself. At that moment, I felt something heavy in my heart. I felt I did not deliver my promise. I also know children do not measure sacrifice. They measure presence. Was I missing for him? Because of him, it was just another day. I was not there. Maybe. Talking about not there, let me give you another. My friend James was almost in tears when I called him during COVID, I remember. He told me his 74-year-old dad is in the hospital with COVID. They isolated him in a separate room, and no family can come close to him. He knows his dad will worry. And also the dad, as a 74-year-old, didn't know why he was quarantined at the hospital. James has to write a big font letter to display to his dad behind the glass window. He told me that is his worst day, that he cannot be close to his dad, cannot hold his hand, cannot sit beside him when he needs him. I felt totally bad for the situation and prayed his safe return. I felt totally how the family will react if the situation is worse. I went with him to the hospital, all of us masked from the outside window, showing him a letter so he could read. The letter says, "Dear Dad, you are sick. The tubes is helping you to breathe. The virus is contagious." We are showing him through the window. And that's why we cannot visit you. We love you and think of you. It hurt us not to be with you. But be strong. Mom is okay. We love you, Dad. I remember that day vividly. I remember that family all weeping. That reflection told me that there are worse moments that are unbearable, worse moments that are impossible to fix, worst moment that, like my teen age, escaping from a country to another country to become a refugee. I thank my life of my children. I thank for being healthy. And I'm worried about not giving my kids enough moment at this moment when someone is worried about his dad being dead. James' dad make it. He was released after 2 weeks. We were happy to see him. That was a devastating moment for all. The fear of losing him was revolving in their head every day for 15 days. I remember that day. The writing of the note to your loved ones, who you feel are close, and they deserve your hug, but you cannot do it. It turns to a letter only, writing to display behind a window. That hurts. That hurts a lot. Let me be honest. James' family were faced with pandemic. He was not busy. He wanted to be on his father's side. This is a catastrophic moment. Yes, it's a missed moment, but catastrophic. And many of you will agree with me. Spending memorable time with our kids is very important. Spending memorable time with our parent is very important. So when my son says, "Dad, you didn't spend enough time with us," I don't just hear a complaint. I hear something else. I hear a child who never had to live the life I skipped. I hear who had to see, God forbid, not a sick father. Children are busy when they look for fun. Children see busy fathers, but fathers were building a future for them. Children see absence. Fathers see protection. Children see time missing. Fathers see time invested. Do fathers who don't care take their children to Disneyland? No, we do care. We traveled, we laughed. But for my son, his concept and understanding differ from his sister. But also the main thing, yes, I was busy. I was in the rat race. I have to make some living. Because children don't measure sacrifice, they measure presence. My son is 34 now. The other day I met him and I asked him, just to poke him, "Did you remember you said this?" He told me, "Dad, I'm sorry. I know you were trying to put food on the table. You did not have anyone to help you when you were a refugee. You were lonely in a dark night crossing a desert. You came here. I would help you every day as much as I am with you." He asked me for a coffee, and I said, "All right, a coffee, let's go." "I got you, old man." He said, "I got you, Dad." Mr. Toastmaster,